Welcome to Stonewatch. This is the Retro Rewatch, and today we're talking about the 1981 classic, The Cannonball Run. And if you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button and click on that bell so you can notify for future videos. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And yes, I recently did a rewatch of the 1981 classic, The Cannonball Run, starring Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., just to name a couple. I mean, it was a lot of big famous people of the day in this movie. And I loved this movie when I was a kid. And for the most part, I really still had a lot of fun watching this movie. I mean, some of the jokes were kind of like, really? But it was 1981, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, for the most part, I kind of love this movie. I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I mean, all about Captain Chaos and all that other stuff. So when that showed up, I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, you know, and I have to say, I remember liking the second one more so than I did the first one back in the 80s. I'm going to do a rewatch, the sequel to this movie. And I might even do a rewatch of Speed Zone, because I know I watched that one because that one's got John Candy and stuff like that, but I don't remember that one actually being tied into the Cannonball Run film franchise. The Cannonball Run is a 1981 action comedy film directed by Hal Needham and written by Brock Yates, produced by Hong Kong's Golden Harvest Films and distributed by 20th Century Fox. The film is based on the 1979 running of the actual cross-country outlaw road race in the United States, beginning in Connecticut and ending in California. Cannonball Run was one of 1981's most successful films at the box office and was followed by Cannonball Run in 1984 and Speed Zone in 1989. Cannonball Run and 2 were the final film appearances of actor Dean Martin, and also featured Jackie Chan in his second Hollywood role. The Cannonball Run was also successful overseas. In France, it sold over 988,000 plus box office submissions in 1981. In Germany, the film sold over 4.8 million admissions, becoming the third highest grossing film of 1981. In Japan, it was the second highest grossing foreign film of 1982, grossing 2.1 billion yen at the box office. The film grossed over 100 million worldwide in its initial run and went on to gross worldwide total of $160 million. Starring in this movie, Burt Reynolds, Roger Moore, Farrah Fawcett, Dom DeLuise, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Farr, Terry Bradshaw, Mel Tillis, Jackie Chan, and Michael Hui, just to name a few. Currently, the Cannonball Run is sitting with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 29%, with only 34 top critics reporting in. Now, the last top critic to do a review of this movie was February of 2022, and he didn't like it. Now, he said the Cannonball Run is stuffed with stars and stupidity. He definitely did not like that movie. Now, on the audience side, it's sitting with a score of 61%, so little over half of the 25,000 plus fans telling you what they think kind of like this movie. But the last guy who did a review of this movie, other than my video right now, was January of 2023, so it wasn't all that long ago, and he didn't like it. He gave it 2.5 stars and said, nobody in this race knows how a time clock works. They all start at different times but then treat the end like a finish line. A mashup of Smokey and the Bandit, wacky races, and it's a mad world that blows most of his budget on smorgasbord of celebrity appearances, but most likely brisk and entertaining. So obviously he's not all that crazy about this movie, but I would argue with him on the fact that yes, they all did kind of punch out at different times, but it's not like they were like hours apart. There was like a few minutes in between as each one went up to the time clock, punched on, and then left. And then granted, there was a certain amount of time that they had to beat to get from Connecticut to California, and I don't remember exactly what that time was, but they had a time to beat, and they all roughly left at different times, but just like a few minutes in within each other. But then there was that fight scene towards the end of the movie, you know, where they're sitting there fighting the bikers and everything. That had to add a little bit of a time. So when they all showed up at the finish line, it pretty much was a race to the finish line, because if any one of them had like a time advantage from prior to, that was all eaten up at that fight with the biker gang, right? I mean, I know I'm analyzing this a lot more than I really should, but he's like, oh, they don't know how a time clock works. I think they understood it, but then there was other circumstances throughout the race, if you watch the movie, to where it kind of like affected their time, right? I mean, either way, if they would have beat everybody else to the finish line first, they would have won, but they were trying to beat the time too. So maybe that's just me. I don't know. Let me just think about that in the comments down below. Now, with a budget of $18 million in its worldwide box office of $160 million, and it did spawn off 2 sequels, Cannonball Run II and Speed Zone. Now, like I said earlier on in the video, I did not realize that Speed Zone was actually, I probably knew it back then, but right offhand, I don't remember that being actually tied into the Cannonball Run franchise. Apparently, its original title was supposed to be Cannonball Run Fever. To be honest with you, I don't know which title's worse, Cannonball Run Fever or Speed Zone. And the box office kind of shows it. Even the Cannonball Run only made like $28 million. I mean, that's like not even a third of what the first one made. And I don't remember the circumstances. I do remember liking the second one, but that's a topic for a whole nother video. And then Speed Zone, even with the name change, did not help it at the box office. It might even hurt it a little bit. Plus, Burt Reynolds did not return to reprise his role for the third one. It only made $3 million total. Now, there was some talk about doing a reboot back in 2018 with the success of the Fast and the Furious franchise. They figured, hey, everybody wants to see this kind of thing again. So they started working on doing a reboot. It even had like a couple directors and a writer or whatever attached to it at that one point, but that was like in 2018. We're on 2023 and I haven't heard a word about it since. But seeing how we got Fast 10 coming out here pretty soon, maybe that's going to spark up the interest again. Who knows? But at the end of the day, man, all I can say is I went back, I rewatched this classic from 1981. Maybe it's nostalgia or what you want to call it, but I still had a lot of fun watching this movie. Now, I don't know, am I going to go back and rewatch this thing every single year? No, I'm not going to lie to you on that one. I mean, actually, I don't remember the last time I watched it before this last time I just watched it, to be quite honest with you. It could have been back when I was a kid. I don't remember. Name of the show. But anyway, I had a lot of fun with this movie. I'm probably going to go watch at least the second one, and I'll probably even watch Speed Zone again just to kind of see like if they try to continue on that story. I don't know. I mean, at least you know it's going to be at least in the second one because Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise is also in that one. So I'll have to check that one out. That'll be my next rewatch. And I'll probably do a video on that one too, just to let you know what I thought about the second one. So did you watch the movie Cannonball Run from 1981? Let me know in the comments down below. Are you a fan of this movie? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, again, it was not really a serious movie to begin with. So if you don't go into this thing thinking, oh man, like being all dead serious and just enjoy the ride, pun intended, you'll have a good time, right? So let me just think in the comments down below.